Hello and welcome to the LGBTQ review, where we review LGBTQIA plus films sometimes. This week we're going to look at Moonlight.
What you looking at me like that for? What, man? Come on, you just drove down here? Yeah. Who is you, Chiron? For a long time, try not to remember. Try to forget all those times.
Moonlight is the award-winning 2016 American coming-of-age drama, written and directed by Barry Jenkins. So Barry Jenkins did Medicine for Melancholy, which I tried to watch because I read about it and it sounded really interesting. It confronts themes of African-American assimilation into hipster and indie culture in New York, which I thought it would be a really interesting
Yeah, that does sound something.
watch, but you just can't watch it in the UK. And then he went on to write and direct If Beale Street Could Talk, which won some Oscars and is supposed to be really, really, really good. It's on Amazon for free.
Originally a play from 2003 and then made into a film. And I think they started production or started working on it in 2013, something like that. And that's why there's like 3 acts as well, which I think in the play they simultaneously did the 3 acts of the 3 different ages. And then in the film they break it up into young, teen, adult.
Tarell Alvin McCraney is an American playwright and actor, and he has written numerous plays. And he wrote the film High Flying Birds for Netflix.
You know, you watch like award ceremonies a lot more than I do. Are we going to mention the thing that happened with Moonlight at the Oscars? Which way around was it? I kind of forget. They said they won, or they said they didn't win, and they did win.
They said La La Land won, and then it was Moonlight.
Who would have thought La La Land would have won over Moonlight? Instantly, they should have known.
I mean, it won a lot of Oscars.
Have you seen? We're talking about film now, but have you seen La La Land?
No, why would I? No, I have not. Why would I? Stupid. Have you?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
So the film won several accolades, including the Golden Globe for Best Picture, the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Mahershala Ali. So he's the first Muslim actor to win an acting Oscar, which is ridiculous. And I looked up all of Oscars ever. Other Muslim actors have been nominated in different categories, but it's still like 1 or 2 per category. Unbelievable. Or horribly believable.
Yeah, it's so strange. It happens all the time, and it's that like these like records get broken, or like someone's the first to do something, and then you're like, it's not taking that long. That's so wild. You just kind of presume like it would happen in like the 70s or 80s or something like that.
And he was in the film for less than 20 minutes.
Oh. I wonder who's had
I think he really deserved best. I think he really deserved it. You know, like when Anne Hathaway won that Oscar for, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm going to shake my head the whole way that I'm saying it, for Les Mis, when she was in it for like 10 minutes.
Who has won an award, like the most prestigious award for the lowest amount of screen time?
Beatrice Straight, which just sounds like someone pretending not to be a lesbian. She was on screen for 5 minutes.
What for?
It doesn't say what film it is, but it was for playing a jilted wife of a TV executive. It is sort of annoying because, you know, when we did, this film is nothing like Tangerine, but it reminds me of Tangerine because it's set in the same area. It's annoying that they couldn't get her, like they weren't successful in her Oscar campaign, and yet other people are winning them for 5 minutes on screen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess white people. It also won Best Adapted Screenplay for Jenkins and McCraney, and Best Picture. When it won Best Picture, it became the first all-black cast to win Best Picture, and the first LGBTQ-related film to win Best Picture, which is, I read that on the internet in several different places, and I was like, it just can't be true.
My reaction is like, no, that can't be true. And then you do think, and you try and think of any others, and like, What has even?
Well, it's because I remember loads that have won. I thought they'd won Best Picture, but then when you look it up, it's that the like main actor wins Best Actor.
I was just going to say the first one that comes to mind is Milk. I thought Milk. Had
Yeah,
won something.
and like Philadelphia and stuff, and then that's just people winning Best Actor. Joy McMillan became the first black woman to win the Oscar for editing.
Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
You gonna tell him why the other boys kick his ass all the time? What's wrong?
I'm good.
No, I done seen good, and you ain't it.
But just having that classical music sting every now and again,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed this. So it's strange to think this about myself and other people viewing it. Being conditioned when watching black films to be surprised when there is a piece of classical music over the top of narratives that are like to do with like poor working class black people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird thing to realize, which is like
Yeah.
unsettling. But it was also like made it like quite powerful and it like different as well.
Jenkins said, instead of taking the hood to the art house, we're going to bring the art house to the hood. And he was talking about the music, the score.
Yeah, definitely got that. It didn't have like that ultra violent feel that another film may have, you know, given that vibe. Or I don't know if this is like well articulated, but I didn't feel on edge.
He doesn't use like realism in the same way that other films about any poor communities do. I think also Tangerine does this really well, but those communities are usually portrayed with this like dirty realism is not a term, but let me make it up, with this like dirty realism.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this just doesn't do this. That doesn't do that at all. Everything's like beautiful and shot nicely. The bit where, what's she called? Paula, the mother, is like screaming, but you can't hear her screaming, you just hear her. But it's just very beautiful.
They haven't shot it to try and reflect the theme of the scene. They've shot it in a cinematic way, and it makes it ironically far more real than other films where they've tried to heighten it in a realistic way. Or as you say, like dirty realism is a good term. It's a great cast, really good. There's not a performance that I thought was anything less than like stellar.
So there's three actors that played Chiron: Trevante Rhodes, Ashton Duran Saunders, and Alex Hibbert. Jenkins made sure that the three didn't meet throughout the whole thing, so they wouldn't start imitating each other, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think because there's so many repeated shots, like him putting his head into the sink with ice in and things, like throughout the ages. I think that's a really interesting idea, not having them meet each other, because at some points they're all doing the same thing. So it's interesting to see those three different, and it makes it seem more like he is three different people at three different stages of his life, which I think people feel like sometimes. Yeah,
I did, like when I was watching it, it was jarring to see the teen into the adult. I thought, oh, that's kind of a weird direction that they've gone in with both casting and then just how the character turns out. But yeah, it does make complete sense now. That's interesting, actually, yeah.
Then Kevin is played by Andre Holland, Jarrell Jerome, who was in When They See Us on Netflix. Have you seen that? It's about the boys, basically. They were boys that were convicted of the rape in Central Park in the, I think, early 90s. And it's on Netflix, and it's so good. I mean, it's harrowing, but it's so good. You should definitely watch it. And Paula, the mother, is played by Naomi Harris. And initially she didn't want to play the part because she saw it as a stereotypical black woman. But then after talking to Jenkins, found it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because I think they all could be. Like in another film, all those parts are stereotypes. And they're just like human. They're all like actual fleshed out people. Teresa is played by Janelle Monáe, who is just like my favourite musician ever. But the most powerful scene was in the first act when they're talking about using the word faggot.
Yeah, that is a great scene. The dynamic between them and even just Juan as a character is really interesting. Like when he confronts Paula about her taking drugs and she's like, "You're selling drugs." Because you think, well, he's a good character, but then he's doing this thing. You don't see that in film very much. But growing up, I saw it in life quite a lot. But yeah, people are complicated.
What I also liked about that character, it all sounds weird to say that I like this, but that his death was off screen and there wasn't like this big like shootout scene, or he didn't just spiral because of that.
I heard a really interesting podcast. It was Films to be Buried with Dane Baptiste, where he talks about that, like black masculinity in films and who gets killed and how they're killed and who they can kill. It's really interesting. I'll put a link to it in the bottom of this video.
With lots of films that we watched, you kind of feel like emotionally drained afterwards. I didn't have that with this.
It's sad, but it's hopeful at the end. There are some great interviews with people that made this film and resources that I will link below because they speak about it, obviously, much better than we do. Shall we rate it?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. I'd rate this 4.3 smashed chairs out of 5.
I would rate it 5 out of 5. You'll know when you know. You know when you knows? Yeah. Because that was great.
Yeah, I look forward to that's what we thought. Let us know what you thought below in the comments. If you have any recommendations or want us to review anything in the future, let us know. You can follow us on Twitter at LGBTQ_review. Like and subscribe. We'd appreciate that.